That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on my right, my actual right, as you cannot see on YouTube, it is your co-host, Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing good. There's 23 days until opening day, on the day that we're dropping this. We got a busy week this week on Above Replacement Radio. 3 episodes. 3 episodes in 3 days coming at you this week.
Yeah, big time special event. A special episode 100 will be coming out
Absolutely.
tomorrow for, number 100. But yeah,
Hundo.
Today we are doing an NL West preview, and also we have some news to go over. A couple notes in this late part of the off season, also known as spring training. But we
March is the new December.
Yeah, Jackie Bradley Jr., a longtime Red Sox center fielder, is now heading over to Milwaukee. Even though, it's weird. They have plenty of outfielders, but they decided to add another one.
Well, they got Lorenzo Cain, they got Garcia, and
Yelich.
Yeah, you're right. With the universal DH probably coming in next season, I think, Cain could probably be on a bench spot for now because he's kind of struggled offensively.
I think he opted out last year.
And he opted out last year, so that's probably a fourth outfielder spot that you're looking at. Jackie Bradley Jr. is obviously coming in as one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, if not the best. He's also coming in as we're both Red Sox fans, so we've gotten the full Jackie Bradley experience since 2013 when he made his Major League debut. It's always just, if he can get hot, if he can go on that hot streak offensively, but the defense is going to be there. Overall, this is a guy that Milwaukee should be happy that's on their team.
Yeah, they should be. It adds it adds more options for them. It adds more options for them as a team. If they're not confident with Lorenzo Cain, it might be a platoon situation where Bradley's hitting against the righties, Cain's going against the lefties, and you have a constant in very good defensive, a very, very good defensive player in that center field position consistently, even if you're platooning. Normally that would be a shaky situation, but they decided to go for it. And, he probably would have been a better fit on some other teams, but the Brewers just decided to grab him and give him the money that he was asking for.
Jackie actually had his best weighted runs created plus season since 2015 in 2020. So he surpassed his 2016 where he had a 39-game hit streak. Or was it 29? It was 29 games.
Yeah.
Yep. It ended the day after my birthday. That sucked. And
at least it kept going through the birthday.
Yeah, no, I didn't want it to end on my birthday.
Right. Yeah.
But it was the night that they retired Wade Boggs' number.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's weird how long that took.
It was.
Yeah.
Because, that's a different story. We'll get into that later. But, Jackie Bradley Jr., like I mentioned, he's best weighted runs created plus since 2015. Granted, he only had 255 plate appearances in that 2015, but he also only had 217 this year. If he can stick around like 105 to 110 OP or weighted runs created plus, especially on a Brewers team that would probably be one of the better weighted runs created plus on that team. They're not a very offensively built team outside of 2 or 3 different guys. So I think Jackie can be very serviceable on offense just by being average because he's going to make up for that on defense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can get to the other side of this. I feel like the Red Sox or the Astros really lost out here. Especially with the Red Sox, they traded in the past offseason. They've already traded 2 of their starting outfielders, and they just lost another one of their starting outfielders. So, also it could translate to he's not as well known as he's not as well known nationally, but it could show you where the Red Sox stand on Jarren Duran, who's their next upcoming center fielder.
I mean, Alex Cora had a quote this week in spring training where it was like he just like eats, sleeps, and plays baseball, and that's his entire life. Like he rolls around baseball. So that's certainly exciting for Red Sox fans to look forward to. But from that perspective, I was going to ask, do you think this is the official like sign of the end of that era in Boston?
The 2018 and included,
like 2016 through 19. And even you could throw 15 in there too.
Yeah, I think Benintendi and Bradley going. I feel like even if Bradley stayed, it'll never be what it was. Obviously,
of course,
it won't be that way with any team. But yeah, it kind of erases it completely. All you have left there is, in terms of significant pieces, is Bogarts, Sale, Devers. I guess Eovaldi would technically be part of that. Erod.
That's kind of it for the most part among people that were on the 2018 team.
Yeah, and then
Matt Barnes, I guess.
Who was on the 2016 team? Bogarts.
Bogarts was. Devers was not.
Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes was. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. That's insane.
Yeah, we're not going to go through it all, but that's most of the guys.
I mean, but going back to the whole end of the era stuff, during that time, one of the most marketable things about the Red Sox was their outfield.
Yeah, and
it was the killer bees. They had the dance routines and all the crazy things that they did after wins. That's all gone now.
Yeah,
every piece of it is done.
Yeah, and the young outfield that the Red Sox had, they were completely homegrown too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big appeal, but unfortunately that's no longer. They have one marketable piece in that outfield, but it's only one guy. It's not really a unit. It's pretty unfortunate, but what's the Astros outfield situation?
What they got?
They got Brantley.
Yeah, they got Brantley. They have Tucker.
Oh yeah, Tucker's in the outfield.
Yeah, they have Kyle Tucker. Let me look at their FanGraphs projected opening day roster.
I think Reddick hit
Reddick is
agency.
Gone. Yeah, Reddick is no longer there. Miles Straw as their
Miles Straw.
Yeah.
So
Bradley. I don't like that.
So Bradley Jr. probably would have been an upgrade, but they did not feel like spending the money. And ends up going to the Brewers, who already had a decent outfield situation. But yeah, it gives them a lot more options. So yeah, So
I guess that's that.
I guess that's the Jackie Bradley Jr. signing. So the
Astros.
He
will fit nicely in Milwaukee.
Yeah, he should.
That's a very left-handed hitter-friendly park. So I think that you could see
power numbers might go up.
Yeah, you definitely could see an uptick in offense from him. Defense, like I've mentioned, you're going to get. You're going to get Gold Glove caliber defense every single night.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because he's more of a pull guy. He didn't really use. He wasn't one of those lefties that really used the Green Monster that much.
Yeah, no, he barely did.
Yeah, he was more of a pull guy. So yeah, his swing probably does better in pretty much any ballpark other than Fenway with that deep right field.
But he's going to fit nicely in American Family Insurance Park.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
It's pretty bad.
If you didn't like guaranteed right field, just wait until what Milwaukee's got coming.
It makes guaranteed right field sound like, the Polo Grounds.
Yeah, sounds like the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, I did not realize how bad that name is.
It's the fact that it's replacing Miller Park. That was just such a nice, easy.
I
get that it's a business decision more than it is, just national appeal. But sounds bad.
But it made complete sense. It not only did it sound good, they were the Brewers who brewed beer. Beer is Miller.
Beer is Milwaukee.
Yeah, Miller. Miller Lite is beer.
I've been to Milwaukee before. I've actually been to a game at that park.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever told you this experience, Chris, but We went to like a restaurant for lunch before the game, and they were like, "Oh, if you go to the game, we have like a bus that goes from our bar to the game, and then after the game, it goes right back to the bar. You can just hop right back on. You don't even need a ride to the game. You don't need an Uber. You can just hop right on. No fee, no nothing." And we were like, "Oh, that sounds great."
Yeah.
So the game ends, and we had an early stadium tour, so we didn't take the bus there. But, the game ends, we go out. There is a whole parade of buses. Every single bar in Milwaukee does this, Chris.
That's
Yeah,
great.
we were like, we found the one restaurant. No, every single sports bar in Milwaukee has a bus that takes you to and from Brewers games.
Yeah, this was not a unique experience in Wisconsin, relatively speaking, but to us Northeasterners,
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the Midwest loves their hometown bars. They enjoy things of that nature. So, yeah, Jackie Bradley Jr. will be in that culture for 2 years,
Yep.
unless they trade him.
I don't see that happening in 2 years.
Probably not. Doesn't seem like one of those trade assets. But we talked about the Astros missing out on Jackie Bradley Jr. They probably have Miles Straw starting in center field, but a guy they did not miss out on was a starting pitcher, a guy who was out there a bit too long. Jake Odorizzi, this right-handed pitcher, gives quality innings. I think he opted out in the middle of the year last year.
That sounds about right.
But he's a guy who's been, a solid number 3 for a little bit. He's spent time in Tampa Bay, spent time in Minnesota, and now he's going to Houston. What did you think about this one?
One thing I'm just looking at right here on his Fangraphs page, his last full season was in 2019. He threw 159 innings, so he was obviously just short of qualifying, but he had 10.08 strikeouts per 9, which is excellent. And, Houston is obviously known for, the way they do. What they're actually known for, but on the pitching side of things, you've seen plenty of instances where pitchers will go over there and their strikeout numbers will, have a big uptick. We saw it with Garrett Cole. We saw it with Charlie Morton. We've seen it with so many different guys, and I think that Jake Odorizzi could be another one of those guys, especially with the already high strikeout numbers.
Yeah, that is true. I should go to his
Savant.
his Savant page to see what he's working with already. But yeah, he's just a guy that's been pretty consistent throughout his career. A guy that you kind of just you don't mind having on your team. Let's go to 2019 percentile rankings.
Yeah.
2019 he had. It's not showing his spin rates.
I was gonna ask, what's his fastball spin looking like?
Okay, there we go. Fastball spin is in the 40th percentile. Curveball spin is in the 18th percentile.
That looks like something that can shoot up.
Yeah, the Astros can work their magic and fix him up a little bit. Yeah, he could be the next guy where he seems a bit unsuspecting, and then boom, he's a top of the rotation type of guy.
And one thing that I think is really important is the role that he's going to be playing. When he was in Minnesota, he was on some, I don't want to say bad rotations, but they weren't exactly up to date with what they were trying to do. He was kind of like a 2 or 3 starter in a team that really needed him. Like, they needed him to perform like an ace. In Houston, you have Greinke ahead of you, you have McCullers ahead of you, and then, Christian Javier is going to probably develop a little more, same with Framber Valdez. So they don't need him to be as good as the Twins needed him to be. So I think that that'll be a lot easier on him, and I think that can help him perform better as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they already kind of had a 5-man rotation full of a cast of characters, like guys that were, not deep into their career, and then a future Hall of Famer in Zach Greinke.
Yeah. And Valdez is injured right now. I'm not exactly sure what the timetable on him is looking like at this point.
When did he get injured?
Pretty recently, but he's on the injured list now.
Yeah, because I feel like that would have come up in the ALS preview.
On March 2nd, he got injured. He fractured his finger.
That was the day after we recorded.
Yep, so that's not too bad. Fractured finger, I'm thinking he should be good for opening day now.
Yeah, probably.
That sounds about right.
Probably. It's not broken.
And it happened last week. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well not throw him in spring training if, he's got that going.
Yeah, so, he'll be back. But, I guess it makes sense that they got an extra starter if Valdez was injured. I did not know that Valdez was injured. But, yeah, a good move. He won't really have that much pressure. He's just kind of the extra guy there right now. And
that can really leave a lot more room for the Astros to experiment with him.
Yeah, I mean, he could, if their rotation is good enough, he might be spending time in the bullpen, which is probably not ideal for Odorizzi, but could work out for the Astros.
Exactly.
But yeah, anything more on the Odorizzi signing?
That is all I got.
All right, now I don't think there's any more news to talk about of note, but now we go on to our preview. We're doing a preview of every division, usually one a week, but we decided to double up last week because there was really nothing to talk about. But now we have the National League West. We start from bottom to top, so we'll start with the last place, Arizona Diamondbacks.
This team has done a pretty good job of making themselves just the most irrelevant team in the league. Like, how many words did we say about the Diamondbacks this offseason?
Pretty much zero.
None.
It is funny because you go to the transactions to find out who they lost and added. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of activity at all. Yeah, and they weren't in conversations for anything. Like, Odorizzi's name was attached to like 12 different teams.
Exactly.
Not the D-backs.
Not the Diamondbacks,
Yeah.
And they could use a starter. I mean,
they
I don't
could.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, especially after the, down years that, transpired for them last year. They are coming off a 25-35 season. They did not really lose anyone very notable, and they added Joakim Soria, Tyler Clippard, and Asdrubal Cabrera. Yeah. Some real veteran pieces there. And what player are you watching?
Yeah, the youngest of those three guys you just mentioned is Asdrubal Cabrera, who is 35. So that says
wow.
That says everything you need to know about their offseason. I do have a guy, and actually I think it's kind of relevant that we're talking about age because believe it or not, the individual that I'm talking about for the Diamondbacks is 7 years old. That's right, Chris. I am talking about a 7-year-old on the Diamondbacks, and that is because he was born on a leap day.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yep, in 1992, so that would make 96 would be his first birthday, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020.
So he celebrated 7 birthdays.
Yeah, Yep. Yeah. Last year he celebrated his 7th birthday.
Yes, he did.
And he's a reliever. His name is Stefan Crichton.
Nice.
And as I mentioned, he was born on a leap day, one of only 14 players in history to have been born on February 29th, which is pretty impressive. And let me tell you why I'm looking at him, Chris. Since 2019, June 22nd of 2019 to be exact, he ranks 17th in ERA among relievers with a 2.49. And that is qualified relievers. That is not, reaching for any innings pitched. And in 2020, his barrel percentage was in the 99th percentile. And he also had 1 complete year of service time, so he could be trade bait. And the unfortunate thing is he is actually 29.
Yeah.
So that isn't great, but Stefan Crichton is my guy on the Diamondbacks. He is a reliever.
Yeah, that's it could be a trade piece. They're probably not going to be. I mean, who knows with the Diamondbacks? You never really know what they're going to do.
I'm not buying that they're going to be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of last year, I was saying they're
NLCS.
Going to the NLCS. Bumgarner, Gallen, and Weaver are going to drive through the postseason, but very wrong. They did not get there.
Mm-hmm.
Although part of me believes if they could have won 4 more games and grabbed an 8 seed, maybe. Or I guess, I had them losing to the Dodgers, so maybe not an 8 seed, but a 7 seed, possible. But the guy I'm looking at pretty fascinating guy. Tim Locastro.
Yeah, the hit by pitch king.
Yeah. I didn't realize this.
Shout out to Foolish Baseball.
Yeah, he's pretty wild. So in his career in the minors, he stole 171 bases in 599 games, and in his career in Major League Baseball, he is 26 for 26 on stolen base opportunities, and in 2020, he was in the 100th percentile in sprint speed and outfielder jump. So he's
a quick dude.
He's like possibly the fastest guy in baseball, which is pretty fascinating that, he's not really heard about, but he might be, you might start to hear about him in 2021.
If you haven't already from Foolish Baseball.
Correct, yes.
He also led the league in hit by pitches in 2019.
Yeah, and he hit 290 with an 859 OPS, 130 OPS plus, and 134 weighted runs created plus in 2020. Small sample size, but very good. Looks pretty up and coming, even though he's kind of in his late 20s. And yeah, the man is a magnet. He was hit 163 times in 599 career minor league games, and he's been hit 27 times in 145 career major league games. So, yeah, he's pretty fascinating, but, one of the fastest guys in baseball, had a good offensive season last year, and, someone to look out for in 2021 for sure.
Absolutely.
So now we go on to questions.
So my question regarding the Arizona Diamondbacks, who has the best chance of getting MVP recognition on this team?
Best chance of getting MVP recognition, I would still say it's Ketel Marte, because, even though his offense wasn't there last year, he was still able to accumulate wins above replacement through his defense. So, yeah, I would say Marte. He's 2 years removed from finishing fifth in that race, and even though it was a down year last year, his OPS plus was around 90. So, I feel like he's got the best chance on that not very deep roster. My question: better attempted bounce back year, Madison Bumgarner or Luke Weaver?
It's a good one. Luke Weaver was one of my guys to watch last year. Mad Bum's coming back. I think it's Mad Bum. He's coming back from an injury. Luke Weaver didn't have as much injury problems in 2020, if I'm remembering correctly. He kind of just struggled in performance, but then again, that could have just been the shortened season. But I'm going to say Madison Bumgarner on this one. I think that he's going to settle into his new home in the desert this year. And I don't know if that necessarily means he's going to be in peak form, but I think he's going to be very serviceable considering what he was not able to do last year. Yeah. It was kind of disappointing, but yeah, this year could be different. So yeah, that is the Diamondbacks. Now we go on to the Rockies, who might be this year's last place team. They are coming off a 26 and 34 season. They lost Nolan Arenado, which is the big one, their best franchise player. They traded him. They also lost Matt Kemp, Daniel Murphy, Kevin Pillar, and David Dahl, and they added C.J. Cron, Greg Bird, and Austin Gomber. Austin Gomber was from the Arenado trade. What player are you looking at? This team is... I know that Dick Monfront won't say it, but they are rebuilding.
Yep.
So I'm going to look at one of the potential pieces of the future in former first-round pick in 2015, Brendan Rodgers. I know he struggled pretty severely at the major league level. He had to the tune of a negative OPS plus last year, but I'm still going to look at him just because he obviously came up as a big-name prospect, and I think with more exposure to the big leagues, he can get better. Just to throw out some numbers, he struggled in 32 games played, obviously, but in the minors, he has an 855 OPS in over 1,600 plate appearances. So, definitely not bad at all in that sample size, and I hope that with more major league playing time, which I think he'll be getting this year, he'll be better on the field.
Yeah, he was one of the top prospects coming up.
He sure was.
So, and on a not very deep team, should be getting plenty of playing time. A guy I'm looking at, I don't know if he would be considered future. He's a relatively young guy. I think he's going into his age 26 season, and he's pretty much the head of the rotation. Just a shout out to Herman Marquez. He led the National League in innings last year.
81 and a third.
81 and 2/3, I think.
Damn it.
Yeah. And along with that, he had a 140 ERA plus. And on the road, he was spectacular. 2.06 ERA on the road. And out of the 74 pitchers who had 25 plus innings pitched on the road last year, Marquez's road ERA ranked 7th out of those 74. So into the top 10% was Marquez's road ERA. And Lifetime has a 3.51 ERA on the road. So, it would be pretty interesting to see him on another team, but, a guy who you can kind of rely on in the rotation, which you can't really say there's been a consistent guy in that rotation to rely on. Marquez might be able to be that guy.
For sure.
Yeah, he's very good heading into his age 26 season.
I remember he was great in 2018, bad in 2019, great in 2020.
Yeah.
So I hope the pattern doesn't continue, because
Right.
that would mean he's going to be bad this year.
Right, yeah. So now on to questions.
Well, this is just hilarious, isn't it? What are the chances we see a career year this year out of Herman Marquez?
A little crossover.
Yeah.
The chances.
What are the chances we look at this as the best season of Herman Marquez's career?
Thus far,
or even just forever.
all time.
What age season? He's going into his age 26 season.
And the question was, what are the chances?
Yeah. I guess as a percent.
I'd honestly give it a 15% chance. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what the defense is depleted
That's
now
a very good point. Without Arenado.
Without Arenado.
And it's probably going to be without Story come August.
Yeah, and I feel like the team around him won't be great, and that usually kind of devolves performance. And I don't know, in his entire career, I don't know if he stays with the Rockies his entire career. The trend would say no. Mm-hmm. And if he's 30, on
if he stays with the Rockies his entire career, something went pretty wrong.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and unless they decided to roll out the red carpet for him.
I don't think. How much he's got? 4 years of service time under his belt, so he's got 2 years left. There's a 2024 club option on him. His contract goes till 23, so he's got 3, maybe 4 years left to control. Yeah. So I don't think they're gonna roll out the red carpet at this point.
Yeah,
unless he becomes a top X pitcher in the game, which I don't see happening.
But yeah, I would say 15% chance this is the year for Herman Marquez.
And to be honest, his 2019 was very inflated by one bad month too. Mm-hmm. I remember it was July. He had a 7 ERA.
Yeah, I was not particularly keeping track, but we'll check.
I remember I had
check
him.
that out.
I was in an F4 league and I had him.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't get rid of him, so I had to ride or die with him the whole season. July he had. Okay, so listen to this. Yeah, well, okay, never mind. April/March he had a 2.93 ERA, and then in May it was 4.12. So, meet in the middle. He's probably looking at a mid-3s ERA, and then in June he blows up with a 6.6, and then a 5.97, and then a 5.25. So his last 3 months particularly were not great, but he did show some strong points throughout that year anyway.
Yeah, he did, and kind of brought it back in 2020. My question is also regarding pitchers, but not Herman Marquez. These guys were kind of, competing for top spot. Kind of similar pitchers also, in that, low strikeout numbers, high contact rate, kind of relies on pitching around the zone and getting soft contact. Who has the better season, Kyle Freeland or Antonio Senzatella?
I am going to say Senzatella. He had a much better. I mean, Freeland is 3 years removed from his last good season at this point. Senzatella had a career year last year, so I think just the trends show that Senzatella has a better chance of pitching well this year. And a guy like Freeland isn't exactly meant to pitch well at Coors. If you're trying to locate the zone and get soft contact, that's usually not your friend at Coors. You're usually meant to be a strikeout pitcher if you're going to perform well there.
Yeah, right, exactly. Especially if you're giving up a lot of contact, it's not great.
Senzatella had, he had 5 strikeouts per 9 last year, so maybe they're both the same type of. They are the same type of pitcher. And also his FIP was a 4.57, but I don't know. Freeland was just particularly bad last time out in 2019. And if I remember correctly, 2020 was kind of the same. So I would still put...
2020, he had a 4.33 ERA.
Yeah.
And I think the FIP might have been above 5.
So they basically had the same type of season, but with Senzatella having a slightly better... or with a better ERA.
All right. So Senzatella is the answer.
Yeah.
So now on to the San Francisco Giants. They're coming off a 29.
They've had an awesome offseason. And it sucks because they're probably going to be a distant third-place team.
Right, yeah. Even with their great offseason, it wasn't the best one
They are
in the
fighting for the
division.
second wild card.
Yeah, it wasn't even the best offseason in that particular division. They're coming off a 29-31 season. They lost Trevor Cahill, Drew Smyly, and Tony Watson. And they added a ton of guys. They added Tommy LaStella, one of the better second basemen out there, Anthony Desclafani, Jake McGee, Matt Whistler, Alex Wood, Kurt Casale, and along with that, Buster Posey is coming back after opting out for 2020, which is pretty notable. They did not have him last year as they were closing in on a playoff spot. What player are you looking at from the Giants?
I think there's someone. I feel like there's someone you missed from the additions. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, Kevin Gausman. They re-signed him. Did you get him?
Well, they didn't add him.
I mean, they didn't add him, but they re-signed him. Anyway, I have given Matt Whistler a lot of love on this podcast, so I figured I'd choose someone else coming out of that San Francisco bullpen. I am looking at Yarleen Garcia.
Wow.
Yeah, he has been one of the better relievers very recently. And just to put a more specific date on it, just like I did with Crichton, since June 19th, 2019, Yarleen Garcia has the second lowest ERA in the majors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Since
when? June 19th, 2019.
That's a long time.
That's a year. That's about a year.
Yeah.
With a 1.48. And last year he had an 0.49 ERA in 18 1/3 innings pitched.
Wow.
So he has been one of the best run prevention pitchers in the game from a relief standpoint since mid-2019.
Yeah.
That is Yarleen Garcia.
That's a guy to look out for. Especially if they're somewhat in the state of competing a little bit. A guy I'm looking at is Alex Dickerson. He's a guy, I think he's in his early 30s, and he's kind of broke out recently. Last year, and there were a lot of Giants guys on offense who just randomly broke out, who were not supposed to break out.
Where do you want me to start? Donovan Solano, Darren Ruff,
Wilmer Flores, I think. It was insane. Their team OPS plus was 115, which is top of the line.
Very unexpected.
Alex Dickerson, last year he hit 298 with a 947 OPS, 157 OPS plus, and 150 weighted runs created plus. And among the 203 players in Major League Baseball who had 150 plus plate appearances last year, among those 203, Dickerson's OPS plus ranked 16th in baseball. So, top 10%. Pretty crazy. And, his expected stats kind of went along with that, not quite on the same pace, but kind of went along with that narrative. His expected batting average was in the 74th percentile in baseball, and his expected WOBA was in the 73rd percentile. So
People forget the Giants were literally competing up to the very last day of the season last year.
yeah,
It was a bad called third strike on the very last pitch of the season that eliminated them.
yeah, people do. They
were right
had the
there.
exact same record as the Brewers.
They were so close to getting their teeth smacked in by the Dodgers in the first round instead of the Brewers.
Yeah, or imagine the Giants just that weird Giants offense just rains down all over Kershaw and Bueller and May.
Yep.
I don't know.
One thing I love right now, I'm looking at their Fangraphs projected lineup. 3 of their first 4 bats are left-handed.
Nice.
It goes La Stella, Mike Yastrzemski, Donovan Solano, Alex Dickerson.
Yeah, it's wild. Like,
And that doesn't even include Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford either.
I don't know how many of these guys are going to sustain success, but even if half of them do, that puts them in a very good spot.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy La Stella is a guy that just doesn't strike out ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a very good guy to have at the leadoff spot, even if he isn't exactly at the highest, offensive production caliber that he's seen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a guy that can make something happen for you offensively.
Exactly.
So now on to questions about the Giants.
Who has the better chance of showing signs of development this year, Joey Bart or Mauricio Dubon?
Dubon. I feel like we've been hearing about Dubon for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how old Dubon is? He's like mid-20s, I would imagine.
Probably.
And Bart's more in his early 20s, I think.
He did get some playing time last year. Mauricio Dubon is 26.
26. I was looking at Joey Bart a little last year. He struck out a lot.
He did.
But he...
Wasn't he a slightly alarming for you?
Joey...
Oh, no, it was Joe Adell.
Joe Adell and Carson Kelly was the catcher I was looking at.
I mean, I was just thinking from a prospect's perspective.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like it might be Bart. I feel like Bart will probably have a better year this year. Maybe be somewhat average offensively.
I would have chosen the other guy.
Mauricio Dubon.
I think Bart's going to spend a lot of time in the minors this year now that they actually exist.
Oh wait. Posey's coming back.
Yeah, that too.
All right. You know what? You changed my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Mauricio Dubon because, Buster Posey's coming back. He's going to be catching, a decent amount of the games. So Bart
Who's playing first for them? Because I know Posey had been getting some time at first as well. That's Belt. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think he got platooned a little bit last year.
Yeah.
With
I remember talking about his launch angle.
Darren Ruff.
Yep.
So I guess if Posey's there, they'll wait on Bart a little bit. So I'll go with now that you changed my mind, I'll go with Dubon. My question is about a guy previously mentioned a little bit, Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman was on a 213 strikeout pace in 2020. Will he reach 200 in 2021?
Well, Kevin Gausman reached 200 strikeouts. It's hard for me to picture him throwing 200 innings, so I'm going to say no.
All right.
Yeah. I know that he has very good strikeouts per 9 numbers, especially over the last 2 seasons. It's been 10.03 and 11.92, but assuming I'd say he probably pitches I don't see him pitching more than 170 innings.
Uh-huh.
So he's gonna really have to rack up those strikeouts. I'm gonna take but it could be a very close under. It could be 195.
Right. So he will not reach 200 strikeouts in 2021. So now, on to the Padres, who, if you are not living under a rock and you're a baseball fan, they've made a lot of moves in the offseason. They're coming off a 37-23 season, which
they were the second best team in the National League.
Yeah, second best record in the National League. They got eliminated in the NLDS with a depleted pitching staff. They lost Zach Davies, Garrett Richards, Trevor Rosenthal, Mitch Moreland, Kirby Yates, Luis Patino, and Francisco Mejia, mostly from trades to get these particular players. They added Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Mark Melanson, Victor Caratini, and Keone Kela, which might not be
Keone. I think it's Keone Kela.
Keone Kela, who's a right-handed reliever. Who knows?
He had a very good end of 2019 into 2020.
Yeah, 2020 he might have opted out. He only pitched 3 innings for some reason. Might have been injured. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird year, but yeah, they added a lot of talent, particularly with their pitching staff. So, what player are you looking at?
All right.
With the Padres?
I'm going to give a description of a Padres player, Chris, and I want you to just say the first person that comes to mind. Don't think about anything, just say who you think it is, all right?
Okay.
This individual led the Padres in OPS last season.
Will Myers?
I hate you so much, Chris.
I had to look at the research.
I know you
too.
did, but I really hoped I could get you with that one. God, this is what sucks about doing a podcast with someone who knows just as much as you.
Yeah, well, if that had been asked a week ago,
you probably wouldn't have had it. And guess what? I had this a week ago.
I would have said either Machado or Tatis.
Well, guess what? Will Myers led the Padres in OPS last season, so he is my guy to watch. He's also one of the longer tenured Padres. He's been there. He's been there for the bad years. So
yeah, he was there for the revamping of the Padres.
He's the only guy left from that.
And then the complete cliff that happened immediately after.
Yeah.
And then now he's back for the resurgence.
So he had a 959 OPS last year. He had the 8th highest slugging percentage in the majors. And since the start of September 2019, the only qualifiers with a better slugging percentage than him are Juan Soto, Eloy Jimenez, Nelson Cruz, Corey Seager, George Springer, and Jose Abreu. Those are the only people that have slugged better than Will Myers since September 2019.
Yeah, guys that were competing for MVPs those are the guys. Yeah, surprisingly good year. He was part of Slam Diego.
He was
in that 4-game stretch against the Rangers.
What was that? That was Tatis, Myers, Machado, and Cronenworth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a 4-game stretch. Man, I can't wait for baseball to be back. That was so fun. 23 days. That was pretty shocking to see that Myers had a 959.
Yeah, I was like, wait. He had better than Tatis and Machado?
Yeah, he was amazing last year. And yeah, still somewhat young, I think, right? He came up pretty young.
Yeah, he's probably 27, 28, I would guess.
I would guess 29, going into his age 29 season.
Will Myers is going into his age 30 season. Okay, well, we were both wrong.
Age 30, but yeah, he's not necessarily an old guy, even though he's been in the league since 2013.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Fun fact about Will Myers: his major league debut was one of my sister's graduations. I remember because I was watching the Red Sox on the couch before the graduation.
And you were like, Will Myers making his major league debut.
Look at that, Will Myers. I think that's what it was.
Sounds about right.
I might be wrong.
Let me check. Let me check his 2013 game logs.
It was June of 2013.
June 18th against the Red Sox.
Against the Red Sox, yes.
That's the one. He went 0 for 4 with a strikeout.
Yeah, and it was a doubleheader, I remember, because it was a day game. Yep, all right. I had that right.
Nailed it.
My memory serves me correct.
Look at that. You got him leading the team in OPS, and you got his major league debut.
I'm a Will Myers historian.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right. So with my Padre, I'll just say this: there were 6 members of the 10-10 club in 2020.
Ah, yes, I know exactly where you're going.
Of course, those were the men with 10 home runs and 10 stolen bases in 2020. He hit
that ball off Kershaw to Iran.
Yeah, he did. So those 6 members were Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis Jr., who I will not be talking about, although he is a Padre, Jose Ramirez, Trey Turner, Trevor Story, and Trent Grisham. Pretty, like Myers, a pretty underrated member of that club. Grisham, along with being a 10-10 player, had the 5th most outs above average among all fielders in baseball, and he also won the Gold Glove last year. He also finished 8th in the National League in B WAR last year and 11th in F WAR. And to go along with that, his expected WOBA was in the 82nd percentile, and his expected stats were actually better than his actual stats. So, he's another guy that's just a complete package, one of the best fielders out there, good with the bat, and also can run around the bases, as a member of the illustrious 10-10 club. So, yeah, that's Trent Grisham. Look out for him in center field. So now on to questions about the Padres.
So the Padres took the league by storm last year, obviously, with the resurgence. I don't want to say the resurgence. Well, I guess the resurgence of Tatis, because we knew he was good in 2020. His real takeover was 2020, even if he was good in 2019.
Yeah.
They finished with the second best record in the National League the year after a last place finish. But perhaps the biggest miracle that came from the 2020 Padres was the immaculate 8.7 degree launch angle from Eric Hosmer. We didn't see it coming. I remember you and I were watching his first at-bat together against Bumgarner, and he lifted one to the gap, and we were like, oh my God, did Eric Hosmer just lift one?
Yeah, he did.
And he had a really good game, too. He went 3 for 5 with 2 doubles.
Oh, yeah, I think he had a how about that from
he did.
that game.
It was he was the first
first baseman on opening day to do something.
I will pull up that right now. But anyway, My question, do you think Eric Hosmer's 8.7 degree launch angle will prove to have been a fluke?
You know what? I mean, everything's coming up Padres. I feel like maybe they have some good technological things. I think I'm going to say it won't prove to be a fluke.
Eric Hosmer was the first player on opening day with 2 doubles and 6 RBI.
First player?
First player.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went over that, I think, that weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild to
crazy.
see. Yeah, he came up with the bases loaded against Bumgarner.
Lefty matchup. We were like, this is an easy ground ball to the second baseman.
Yeah.
And we worked the count too. It was a long at bat or something.
It was very much anticipated, and the payoff was just shocking. It was utterly shocking. We expected a nice rollover to Brandon Belt, but no, we got a double off the wall.
Definitely not to Brandon Belt.
Oh wait, right.
To Christian Walker.
Christian Walker.
Yeah.
Whoops. I keep remembering
Bumgarner
as a Giant. All right. My question. They had arguably the best infield in baseball last year. 2 guys that were in the MVP race on the left, 2 very good guys on the right. Who will have the most wins above replacement on the left side of the infield, and who will have the most wins above replacement on the right side of the infield?
Okay, that's a great question.
So it's basically Tatis and Machado, and between Cronenworth and Hosmer.
All right, so I'm going to say Tatis on the left side, but that could be subject to change. I guess it really could go either way, but I'm going to go Tatis just because... he's fresh off an extension. I feel like he's really going to... He still hasn't played a full season in the majors, Chris.
Yeah, and
Machado has injury history, too, so I feel like he might get one.
And he's younger.
Exactly.
He's getting more experience.
And then on the right side, I'm going to say neither. Ha-Sung Kim is coming in this year. He's going to light it up at second base and lead the right side of the infield in B-WAR and F-WAR.
There we go. I like that, Could have gone plenty of directions, and you chose the road less traveled with Ha-Sung Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about him
right before Darvish went down and Snell went down.
Yeah, in that week where the Padres
I remember we were we hopped off after discussing the Snell trade, and meanwhile Passan and Rosenthal were it's they're in the works of getting Darvish, and I just texted you. I was like, all right, once this goes down, we're just going to hop back on.
Yeah.
And an hour later, we were like, all right, Yu Darvish has been traded to the Padres.
Yeah.
And I was like, they better have gotten Cronenworth or something. Nope.
Just Zach Davies.
Yeah.
Who came off a year with a 5.01 expected ERA, but a
Cubs,
2.73 actual ERA.
The Cubs are going to have the least velocity out of their starting pitchers.
Yeah, Hendricks and Davies at the top.
And they could have re-signed Lester, too.
Yeah, if they wanted to. Yeah, I mean...
and Alec Mills, too.
Yeah, Alec Mills. The most random no-hitter of all time. It's wild.
With like 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, it was 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. Yeah, I mean, I think there were like three or four balls that had an expected batting average above 500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was just very random. I mean, it was a good game.
It was cool.
It was,
but just okay.
Yeah, wild. So that does it for the San Diego Padres. Now on to the Dodgers, who, if you were unaware, they're coming off a 43-17 season where they won the World Series.
They won the World Series.
So if you're, hope you're keeping track at home. They lost Jock Peterson, who was kind of a secondary outfielder for them. Kike Hernandez, another utility guy. Pedro Baez, Jake McGee, Adam Kolarek, who I forgot to mention last week. Adam Kolarek went to Oakland.
Ace. That's a great pickup, especially since they lost Hendricks.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that in the AL West preview. So good to note because he was spectacular against lefties. The Dodgers also lost, along with Peterson, Hernandez, Baez, McGee, Kolarek. They also lost Dylan Floro and Alex Wood. They added Trevor Bauer, who you may know from winning the Cy Young.
Who you may know from YouTube.
Yeah, he's big time vlogger. He spends a lot of time around baseball players, so
yeah.
I mean, should be.
Yeah, he has some ins.
Yeah, he's got some sources.
Yeah.
He was one of the first. He was one of the first guys to break that story about that pitcher who signed this past offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the first to report it. He had a video and everything.
It was crazy. It was like professionally done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all he could have spent like he's going to the Dodgers, but no.
No.
Like he probably knew days in advance.
He probably did. He probably like had a lot of information with that guy. He probably had like long phone calls
with the
guy.
agent.
Yeah, with the agent too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's friends with the agent. I think that's what his in is.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Usually a good source to have.
Right, exactly. So they added Trevor Bauer, and also what should be mentioned, David Price is coming back after opting out for 2020. So he'll be pitching his first Dodgers innings ever this year. So what player? It's hard to pick an under the radar Dodgers guy.
I did it anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to do it.
We may have the same guy. My player is, to my knowledge, the only player to take himself deep in a playoff game, a regular game. I'm going with Will Smith.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you chose him. I did not choose him, but
okay.
If he did not get chosen by one of us, we should have shouted him out.
Yeah, Will Smith is under the radar as one of the best, probably the best offensive catcher you could argue in the game. He only has 333 career plate appearances, but since the start of 2019, he leads all of the 65 catchers with at least 160 plate appearances in weighted runs created plus with 144, WOBA with a 386, slugging percentage with a 574, and OPS with a 937. He slugs. He's a great offensive catcher, and his name is Will Smith.
Yeah, he kind of flew under the radar. We were kind of poo-pooing him. We made him part of a joke before the playoffs.
We're like, they're gonna have Will Smith hitting third. No, actually, that's viable.
That's actually a great option. Like most teams would have Will Smith hitting third.
Yeah.
It's just the Dodgers have.
If he was on the Marlins, I would be hyping this dude up.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, you don't know this guy. He's the best catcher.
Yeah, he'd be the face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he's like the seventh best player on their team. They're ridiculous. A guy I'm looking at, with a team like the Dodgers, I'm just gonna look at a reliever. Now, there was a much hyped rookie reliever with the Dodgers last year. He was on Pitching Ninja a lot.
I know.
This is the guy. This is not the guy I'm talking about. Because Brewstar Gratterall got a lot of attention, but this guy was.
I thought you were gonna use that as be like, but his whiff percentage.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna poo-poo him. Although Gratterall did have some good ground ball numbers, so I will give him credit for that. And his expected ERA was actually lower than his actual ERA, so that's something to point out. But I'm not talking about Brewstar Gratterall. I'm talking about Victor Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
So last year he was 24, and in his rookie year, and of the 173 qualifying relievers last year. Victor Gonzalez's ERA ranked 10th. His FIP ranked 6th, and his strikeout to walk ratio ranked 5th. And he was the only pitcher in baseball in 2020 to have 20-plus strikeouts and less than 3 walks. And his expected ERA and expected WOBA against were in the 99th percentile in all of baseball. And he uses his sinker more than half the time, and it's effective enough to produce a 69.2% ground ball rate. So when you're hitting it, you're probably driving it straight into the ground because that sinker is very effective. Had a 1.33 ERA last year, a 1.67 FIP. It was pretty crazy, and even though they lost a lot of relievers, you're in good hands with the young lefty Victor Gonzalez out of the bullpen. He'll probably be a guy to pay attention to inevitably when they make the playoffs because that's when relievers shine more, but a guy you should keep note of when you think of the Dodgers bullpen. So
Absolutely.
Now, on to questions.
Chris, there is a lot of hype regarding the starting pitching of this team. They have so much depth. Who will be this team's Cy Young Award winner?
The team Cy Young Award winner. So I've been considering what my regular Cy Young Award winners
Criteria
will be.
Is.
Yeah, and also thinking about who.
I think there's 3 easy options.
There are. I was looking at Buehler. He had a very good postseason. He didn't accumulate a lot of innings last year for whatever reason.
I mentioned his. I think it was his barrel percentage. And it's his swing and miss percentage on the slider. He didn't get one till his 5th start.
Yeah, he's went off to a bad start, but it didn't end up going well. And with Bauer, it's I don't know if he's going to replicate it because I'm not really trusting guys from the Central, guys that pitched in the Central last year. I don't know how it'll go because the lineups weren't great, and they're going to pitch outside the Central. And then there's Kershaw, I guess, could also. I'm gonna say Walker Buehler will be the team's Cy Young Award winner because he was able to get some innings in 2019, so it should look the same in 2021. My question. So Cody Bellinger had a 1035 OPS in 2019 and a 789 OPS in 2020. The midpoint of that is 912. Will his OPS be over or under 911.5 in 2021?
I'll slam the over on that.
All right.
Yeah, I have I have a lot of faith that Cody Bellinger will have more than that.
Yeah, if he does,
even if the MLB is going to deaden the baseballs, which they've talked about, I still think he can get there.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets going, that's he didn't have a great year last year, and the Dodgers still went 43-17 and won the World Series not with ease, but they went 13-5 in the playoffs.
Yeah. With
Bellinger not being his best, so if he gets going, that's very, very dangerous. But that marks pretty much the end of the episode. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. And please join us for a special. Would it be a special Wednesday edition of Above Replacement Radio, episode 100, the all-time draft with Nico Fasella, Rob Dickey, and Bono. How would you? Siddhartha. Where we're doing the all-time draft. It's going to be great. And also join us on Thursday, where we're going to be talking about Frank Robinson. So we will see you then.